are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, which is brought to you by the Ad Free Show's podcast, Heat and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one. That's the woken one. That's the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. Playing the greatest hits. What's going on, man?
Oh, man. Just hanging out, man. Just hanging out here at the Hardy compound before a crazy week. We are taping this on a Wednesday. I will be headed to Buffalo tomorrow. So by the time this goes live, there'll be people that will have seen me at Fourth Rope. Myself and Jeff, we are defending our Fourth Rope Tag Team championships against the Good Brothers and the Infantry. So it's going to be Fourth Ropes are always a trip, man. You never know what you're going to get there, man. When the hills have eyes, man, with West Side Gun, they're always a trip. So we're going to be there in Buffalo, and then I am making a lovely trip on Friday down to PR. I'll be flying into San Juan. I'm excited to see Primo and Carlito and all the troops. And I'll be working and wrestling for WWC on Saturday. And if you are in PR, if you're in Puerto Rico and you're coming out to the event, to the 52nd anniversary of WWC, I will be doing a meet, greet, and delete on Saturday starting at 4 p.m. I'm very excited to return to the island.
Those are your people now, man. That's your family.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I'm honorary, man.
You're an honorary use for.
I'm honorary.
I'm
an honorary Boricua, man.
That's true. One of my patrons said he's got to wear that Puerto Rico tank he's got when you go down there. You got to make sure that you get the cheap pop.
I'm gonna pop it. I'm gonna pack it.
Okay, all right. I dig that. Yeah, our boy Guga.
Get a little beach time in. You know what I mean? Just a little beach time.
That I'm jealous of. Our boy Guga did that follow-up video recently where he made your brisket mofongo that you wanted. And
oh yeah,
looked interesting.
Yeah,
looked interesting. I don't know your choice.
It was a hell of an interesting combo, man. You know, I wish I could have been there to try it in real time.
I'll tell you this: Guga did a New York City trip recently, and he posted some videos, and I was like, you know what? Some of these spots I've hit before, some I haven't. I gotta go. And last week, I went down to Chinatown alone. I just went down there. It's about a 35-minute walk for me. And, buddy, I got this roast pork beef, or a roast pork bun, I guess it is. It's just like warm bun with sweet hoisin roast pork in the middle that he recommended. This was like $3.
Oh, wow.
And it was life-changing. I've seen the light. I've touched the hand. I'm an atheist, and I've touched the hand of God. And it was unbelievable. And then they went to a French restaurant that I took my better half to yesterday for some life-changing French onion soup and a French onion soup burger, which I had many years ago, but it'd been my first time having it in almost a decade. And, buddy, think about it. You like French onion soup?
It's sometimes.
Okay, sometimes. Get those caramelized onions, a little beef broth, some Gruyere cheese. So they cook the burger perfectly. Gruyere cheese, bechamel sauce, these unbelievable caramelized onions. And then, because it's such a dense burger, instead of putting it on a bun, they put it on an English muffin bun. So English muffins on top and bottom.
Right.
At first I'm like, I don't know about that. Divine. Oh, I'm hungry now, man. We got 2 podcasts.
Otherworldly experience for you.
It was like I was in a planetarium, Matt.
I do love some good caramelized onions, though, man. No doubt about it. They're special.
I was like hanging out at a planetarium with Woken Matt Hardy.
Woken. I mean, that's probably where you do your promos, I guess. Especially if you're talking about this lovely French onion soup.
Oh, so good.
Sounds interesting. The roasted pork thing inside. What was that called? What was that dish called?
It's just a roasted pork bun. That's all.
Roasted pork bun. That's a very simple name. Okay, very simplistic.
It was $3, and it was incredible. Right up your alley. You would have been all about it. Next time you're in the city, we'll make a quick trip over there. Hop in, pay your cash, get out. But
Right on.
Chinatown's the real deal. But yeah, man, that was my week. I'm glad to hear you're going to get a chance to get some sun, craving some of that. But definitely a lot to hit on this week. Our episode is going to be about the whole Raja Jackson Stu Smith incident that has kind of taken the wrestling world by storm, for better or for worse. And we're going to talk about culture in wrestling and
Yeah.
just some of the what's the unwritten rules perhaps that exist within it. And
Well,
and
too,
try to
I have lived through different generations of the changing culture of pro wrestling, so I'm pretty
yeah.
pretty well versed to speak on it.
Okay, well, I'm excited to get into that with you. Insane story, but I do want to talk about some things that did happen outside in the wrestling world this week. Outside of just that, of course, AEW held Forbidden Door, and there were a few notable things from this show. I got to be honest, I thought it was one of the weaker AEW pay-per-views. It wasn't a bad show, but
All right.
I feel like AEW's just kind of set the bar so high with their pay-per-views that even an okay show doesn't necessarily come off at the same gravitas of a typical pay-per-view. But your boys, Adam and Jay,
I want to, John.
Yeah,
I
please.
have a very honest question I want to ask you. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, please.
do you think too that is problematic if they don't reach that extremely high bar that they've set for themselves? That it's somewhat of like people look at they're slightly disappointed.
I mean,
just out of curiosity,
it's a good bar to have.
I know
Like, it's a good problem to have, right? Like,
I guess so, but do you think like the sickos, the people that are they're very demanding on what they want in wrestling? You know, if like WWE doesn't have enough matches, or the matches aren't great enough, or there's run-ins or overbook finish or whatever else, I know people are upset about it. Do you think because they do offer such a high bar, a high standard for their pay-per-views, if they don't meet up to that, do you think that's problematic, or it's just like, or do you think they should maybe try and do like the lesser pay-per-views, not quite as good, and say go all out and go nuts for the very, very big ones?
Why would you not want to make your pay-per-view as good as you can make it? Especially when you're charging people $50 a pop. Why would you not want to make it as good of a show?
I mean, I understand that. I understand you want to make it as good as possible. You want to give them their money's worth every single time. But what I'm saying is, like, do you take a special chosen number, 4 pay-per-views, 5 pay-per-views, and you're going to make those your WrestleMania, your SummerSlam, your Royal Rumble, your Survivor Series, or whatever else, you know, and really like go all out, go balls to the wall on those. You try and make them all as good as you can, but like, you know, you take those and you really emphasize them. Once again, this is just all hypothetical.
I think, and I'm not saying this about you, but I'm just the notion that, oh, well, you don't go as all in on one pay-per-view because you want to make the next pay-per-view better. Like, I don't see the logic in it. Like, if you're having a pay-per-view, it should be of pay-per-view quality. And you have your all-ins like they have, right? Where All In is their biggest show of the year, and that's their WrestleMania. That's their biggest show that they have. They have their staple shows. That Double or Nothing, you know, is always going to be a high stakes show. There's a big show. But I don't know. I mean, I think some of the best AEW pay-per-views have been like last year's Dynasty show, or like that's cool to me that you watch a pay-per-view and you could be getting an all-time show. I think AEW, in terms of pay-per-view consistency, is probably the best promotion in history at that. You know, WWE has some unbelievable big shows in its history, but a lot of times historically, it's like, okay, this is a B-level pay-per-view and here's an A. And I think that's what you're kind of alluding to.
It is.
But why would you make your show less good? I guess is my question. Like,
I don't think it's making it as I wouldn't look at it as that. I would describe it as not making it less good. I would make every pay-per-view extremely good, really good, but I would try or great, and then I would try and make a select number of the pay-per-views epic, especially if those are the ones you want to brand as like your special. This is the can't miss pay-per-view of the year or whatever else.
I feel like
you have 4 or 5 selects.
I feel like they do that though, based on the venues that they run for specific shows and where they run them. That plays into it. Like All In being in a stadium, I think tells you that that's their biggest show of the year. And
Mhm.
All Out being in Toronto, where they're going abroad, is trying to tell you, hey, this is a big, important show. I think they tried to make Forbidden Door big. I mean, they had resounding success with the gate. It was almost 18,000 people they
No,
had
it
there.
it was a smashing success. I mean,
But
there's no way you can look at that and not deem that a success. No
right,
way.
exactly. I mean, again, the show is fine. I think the problem with it is this should probably be the last Forbidden Door show they do, because the concept is no longer realistic. Like when they launched Forbidden Door, New Japan still had a pretty good arsenal that hadn't been tapped into by AEW yet. But now you routinely see New Japan wrestlers on AEW TV. So it doesn't really make a sense. It's like when Raw versus SmackDown were the brand wars for Survivor Series, even though you'd see guys show up on both shows all
Sure.
the time. You know,
Right.
I think Forbidden Door concept might be a little passe at this juncture.
Let me ask you this: does the AEW TNA stuff feel more like a Forbidden Door than AEW does with New Japan currently?
Well, yeah, because TNA's in bed with WWE, so that would certainly be more Forbidden Door than anything New Japan does.
Hey,
Because
what about this? We finally had a TNA TNA wrestler, contracted wrestler in Ash by Elegance. She won the TNA Women's World
she
title
did,
back and bringing it back to Impact.
she did win that back.
Very cool.
I was surprised that that wasn't saved for a bigger show, but they did bring it back to TNA. I felt to me like you'd want that payoff on a little bit of a bigger show than just a NXT event. I figured you might want that on a TNA show, but hey, they'll take it, right? You end up moving it back there. But I want to get into some of the notes from Forbidden Door
Yep.
because
Yep.
Adam and Jay, Adam Copeland, Christian Cage did reunite for the first time in years, and they had their match against Killswitch and Kip Sabian. And it was kind of a strange match where a lot of the story was focused around Kip Sabian and Killswitch rather than Adam and Jay being on the same page. It also opened the show, which was different for
Right.
AEW to have a match like that open. But they worked well together, and you know, by the end of it, there's some hesitance from Christian. What did you make of what you saw from it?
You know, I would have thought they would have probably leaned more into telling the story of like, all right, you have Adam Copeland, you have Cope, who is a hero. You have Christian Cage, who is a villain, and these guys have a long storied history, and they're trying to get together, they're trying to work and be together on the same page. And like I like how they've played it on TV where where Christian Cage is keeping his current role, where he is kind of a dickhead, right? He's an asshole. That's how they describe it on TV. You know, Edge Cope said he is his asshole. I liked how they played that
Can
up.
you confirm that or deny that?
Oh, he is definitely, he's everyone's favorite asshole, no doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen them making the effort to mesh together, to work together, to get back on the same page during that match. And it was interesting that they took the route of, you know, Luchasaurus and Kip Sabian being the team that were trying to work and be on the same page or whatever else, because I feel like you needed them to be strong because you want to have Edge, you want to have Cope and Christian overcome these guys. And I think at the end of the day, you want them to look good together and have a strong win when it was all said and done, because I think there is a ton of money in Cope and Christian, no doubt about it, because they're both big stars. They're both still very able to go in the ring. They're both very capable, and I think they can make a lot of money for AEW. So it was very strange booking, as you did say.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't got to call him Cope anymore. They reverted back to Adam Copeland, so you don't have to force your lexicon there.
My God. I mean, I can't stop from calling him Edge. I mean, he's
Yeah,
just
I
like
mean that's
Edge.
fine. So that's people call. Yeah, no, I mean I'm with you entirely. I thought the match was just laid together really strangely, and I think what you laid out story wise made a lot more sense for what would have worked. And they should have had the miscommunication the whole match until the finish, which I thought was a great finish. The pop up into the spear from Copeland was super cool. And it's like, okay, now we're on the same page. and there's still the reservations. It would have been a more effective story, in
I
my
mean,
opinion.
honestly, I would have loved to have seen something even where, like, you know, Adam was going to nail one of the guys and he accidentally hit Jay. And then Christian gets upset. And is Christian going to leave? Is he going to leave or walk away?
Sure.
But then he kind of like goes, oh, well, in his mind, it was a mistake. This is my partner. He helped me. He saved me. Like, let me go back and do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I could have seen some of that inner turmoil really good for their characters and really bonding them again.
I agree. I think that would have been an effective way to tell that story too. But they seem to be heading on to a collision course with FTR, even though FTR did not win the tag titles. Instead, Brodito did. What do you think of the tag team of Brodito, Bandito, and your boy Brody King? I've been a big time Brody King fan for a very long time. I used to work with him at Limitless in 2017. I mean, he's a specimen. That guy, just total freak of nature, and Bandito's pretty cool in his own right too.
Bandito is also a freak of nature. The way he would like press people, being a smaller guy. I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere, which is amazing, And I was hearing a little backstory from the scrum they did afterwards. I guess they've been pals for a while. They work together a lot, and they've been friends for a bit. I think they're both individually both very, very talented, and I love the fact that they're gelling, and it seems like people are really behind them. So that's cool. That's cool. They've kind of created a tag team that has some nice momentum now in AEW.
Well, and I'm glad that, and we've got on Tony Khan about this in the past, they rode the hot hand. The crowd's into Brodito, so they gave him the tag titles.
No doubt. And that's going to be, as time ticks on, that's going to be more and more important for TK to listen to the crowd and cater to the crowd and do what the crowd asks him to do, especially the crowd in the live arena, not the crowd on X and, online.
Yeah, no, I mean, people dig Brodito a lot, and they gave him the win, so I thought that was really cool to see that.
And it's interesting too, John. I just got to ask you. I'm very curious. How'd you feel about that? They did an angle where the where the Hurt Crew were MVP, Lashley, and Shelton. They were actually jumped and they fought off, and they were the current champions, and they ended up losing the titles without eating a pin or taking a loss. How did you feel about that?
I don't think people care as much how I feel about that as what you think about that.
I thought it was the main reason I think it's so interesting is because of all the rumors and innuendo.
Yeah, you hear the rumors and innuendo. You know what they are
going around about those guys. So it's interesting. Like I know Hassan MVP has very high expectations. He's very demanding. I'm sure he's on top of stuff. He wants what is best for him and his guys, and he will accept nothing less. So I would imagine he was pretty vocal in all this.
Well, maybe we'll have that part of our conversation later about just the culture of the business and doing business and all that. We can dive more into that.
And I'm excited. I will see him on Thursday because I do. We have a very, myself and MVP, we are kindred spirits, where it's funny because we are similar in so many ways, but we're also different in so many ways. But we had a very special bond, especially during that time for the U.S. title, and whenever we were tag team champions at WWE, we had a great time together, and that bonded us for life.
Well, you'll have to put your special investigative reporter Gregory Helms hat on and try and get the answers to what's going on. See if you can do that.
Oh, they won't be hard to get.
Toni Storm defeated Athena. She's in like month 9 now of her 4th title reign here. And Mercedes Moné also retained the TBS championship. So both of these women have had really long title runs with the 2 titles in the AW women's division. And the concern that I have out of it is, for as fantastic as they are, and they are both tremendous, I think you would agree with that too.
Mm-hmm.
It somewhat feels like with 2 super long title reigns going on, you're hurting the upward mobility of the division and allowing people to move up and elevate. I mean, especially with Will Ospreay's going to be away for a while. Swerve's going to be away for a while. Kenny Omega's not full time. You need some baby faces on this show, right? You need some stars. And when you don't have that upward mobility, it's kind of hard to sustain that.
Let me ask you this, John. Are you a big advocate of long, strong title reigns?
I think a long, strong title reign can be a really good thing if the end goal is to truly elevate someone in the end. But having two of them going on at the same time when those are your division's only belts feels like that can stagnate things.
Okay. Because I know a lot of, I know Tony. I feel like Tony invests a lot into like very solid title reigns, a champion having a great reign. But I am also a big advocate of just the way that the business is. Like, for instance, when myself and Jeff first won the WWF at the time World Tag Team titles, those titles elevated us. Like, we needed those now. You look at us carrying the TNA World Tag Team titles, we are just elevating those titles. We're elevating TNA, the brand in general, because we're going to be popular either way. And you are correct. And I do agree with you, John. Both Mercedes and Tony, they would be fine without the titles. They would be beloved just in the exact same way. And there are other female wrestlers on the roster that would find a lot of value. It would add equity to them and their whole characters if they did have the championships. So I can understand your point, and I do agree with you, especially having two going on almost parallel. I understand you might have someone and you want to send them on like this special run, which makes them stand out above and beyond as being the greatest women's champion of all time or whatever. But to do two at one time can be a little tricky.
Yeah, and like, let's call for it. Like, Athena would have benefited from winning that title against Toni Storm, and you could create a new star in her and then a baby face to overcome her. Or if you really even want Toni Storm to beat her in the end, you can do that too, but you're still trying to make someone else. Like, I advocated back when they were pushing Megan Bayne a few months ago when she debuted. I thought Megan Bayne should have beat Toni Storm for the title and upset her and shocked her. And you give her a month-long title reign where Toni Storm has to go back to the drawing board, figure out how to beat her, get more aggressive, tell the Rocky IV storyline, and then you've added equity to Megan Bayne without giving her a 10-month title reign, and you've made someone, and you can get the title back on her. Or even if you want to have Hangman Page lose to MJF this past month at this show, I don't think that would have been the worst thing in the world, because think about Austin, right? Austin would chase, win, lose the title 3 weeks later, and then have to learn from it, evolve, and become even more of a badass and get the title back. And Hangman could have done that as well. So that's my approach to it. It sounds like we're in lockstep there. Anything else you want to add on that?
No. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I mean, even, you go a few months back to when myself and Jeff, whenever we, dropped the TNA World Tag Team titles to Ryan and Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth is a made guy. He didn't need it so much, but Ryan Nemeth, and kind of establishing them as a tag team, since Ryan Nemeth has done so much on his own, he wanted to do this tag team thing for a while. We'd really tried to make Ryan Nemeth. That was our whole goal in all this.
Right.
And it did. It worked. It helped him out. And I think we achieved our mission when it was all said and done, and people were very excited to see us win them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, enter the room dick first. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like someone gave your downstairs a little pep talk and maybe even a gym membership as well. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And you may be saying to yourself, I'm too young for Blue Chew. I'm too old for Blue Chew. But I assure you, no matter how old you are, Blue Chew is just right for you. Take Matt Hardy, for example. He's on the road all the time, so you know that when he comes home, well, that's not the only thing coming if you're picking up what I'm putting down. See, guys, this isn't just about performance. This is about legacy, or even your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. When you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. As always, you can get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code HARDY at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. War Daddy's back. Your boy, Wardlow.
Very happy to see him, man. I love me some Wardlow. Wardlow, if you're out there, man, keep killing it. Keep doing what you're doing. Matt Hardy is your biggest advocate, dude.
What'd you think of his return here, taking out Swerve, taking out Nana, joining the Don Callis family?
It was interesting, but it wasn't unexpected, so to say. I know he'd been on TV for a while. He had done his American Gladiator stuff. I guess he's finished with all of that filming, all the content that he was obligated to do with those guys. They brought him back. Thank goodness. He's someone who is a star. If you have him under contract at AEW, I am a firm believer he should be on your TV program because he looks like a star. He resonates like a star. Everything about him yells and screams star. So they brought him back, starting as a heel, and he's going to probably come in, get a pretty big push right from the jump with his Don Callis family. And I would imagine before it's all said and done, he'll find his way back to being a hero again. But I'm just glad to see him back on TV. I'm glad to see him being utilized at AEW.
The Don Callis family's like 3 times the size of House Hardy now. Just crazy.
Say that one more time.
The Don Callis family is like 3 times the size of House Hardy now. It's crazy.
Yeah. There you have it. They have a true gaggle.
Yeah, they really do.
Bigger gaggle than my gaggle.
Takeshita's going to be the big time babyface coming out of that, and why not? He's tremendous. So we'll see how that ends up unfolding. But yeah, any other notes from the show that you want to hit on? You know, Will Ospreay's going to be gone for a while. They did a very interesting angle at the end of that match that was pretty divisive. But anything else you want to hit on there?
Yeah. No, it was divisive. I actually didn't see that, but I loved how you brought up that point, John. You just said that they were so outnumbered, the Hills, and they were able to get away with that and cause the damage to Will Ospreay. So that was interesting. Let me ask you this: what is Ospreay having done? Do we realistically know what
he told the takedown on SI, my colleague Zach Haydorn, that he's got herniated discs pushing against his spinal cord. So seems like he's going to have to get some pretty significant relief on that before moving forward.
Ugh, that's scary. That's very, very sad to hear too. And it's just one of those things that just reminds me of Ospreay is awesome. And I love what he does. He's so gifted. He's so talented. One of the most dynamic and explosive pro wrestlers of all time. Just, the way he goes, balls to the wall, 150% every time he's in the ring. And just, I don't know. It's just scary because, there is only so many bumps on everyone's bump card. And I feel like Will Ospreay is at a point where people care about him for being Will Ospreay because he's done so much already. I just hope as he moves forward, he can protect himself, especially if everything goes well with the surgery and he comes back. And I would imagine he has plans to, because I haven't heard anything on the contrary. But I just I want him to work as smart and have as much longevity as he can possibly have.
Yeah, I hope that he's able to come back, and I hope he gets his moment at All In next year at Wembley Stadium, wins the world title. Hopefully he's back, 9 months or so, but healthy more importantly than anything else, because he is truly one of the most spectacular talents that I've ever watched with my eyes in a pro wrestling ring. And someone shared a graphic that had all of his match graphics of pay-per-view matches he's had since he signed with AEW. He hasn't missed a pay-per-view since he signed full-time, and like 75% of his matches have just been classics. So that's he's an all-time great talent. How much
no doubt. I mean, I think I've said this on here before, but I mean, he's Tony Khan's wet dream. You know what I mean? When it comes to a pro wrestler, I mean, he is everything Tony Khan wants. That's not meant as an insult or whatever else, but like Tony Khan, that is exactly what he wants. If Tony Khan could build from the ground up the perfect pro wrestler, it would be Will Ospreay.
He's everything any promotion should want. He's a great promo now. He carries himself with such tremendous presence. The ring work is unbelievable. He is a full-time, all-around superstar. So hopefully he's able to come back in an effective way that is healthy for him as well. Matt,
also, sorry, John. One more thing, please. I want to say, I really enjoy what the Young Bucks are doing now. I love
like them coming out to Mbop.
I love the entertainment aspect. Kudos to the Young Bucks. Congratulations, Matt and Nick. I love that they're carrying that on, and they're so creative, and they get it. They're like, okay, well, we've lost all our power. We need to be treated like nobodies, like jobbers, like losers. And they're doing all these great callbacks to things from their earlier days, even how they tease them with the Generation Me graphics when they were introducing them coming to the ring, like they've
Yeah.
lost all their power and people are treating them bad, to playing, Hanson, bop, bop. It's been really good. It's been really fun to watch, and they're really on the pulse of pro wrestling. They're really on the pulse of entertainment when it comes
I
to that.
feel
And
like
just
this is
proud to see it.
them trying to show the haters, like, no, see, we're in on the bit, guys. And now, if you followed the Young Bucks their entire career, you know they're in on the bit. But the haters who get so just wrapped up, I fucking hate how they wrestle. I hate they're so cocky. They're so like, this is them almost peeling back the curtain, I feel like, and showing, see, we are self-aware. And I'm curious if that resonates.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I just think they have always been self-aware.
Of course, if you pay attention, you know that.
And it's just they're a team that just have got under people's skin, especially because they ended up founding AEW and they carved out a big niche for themselves and they made a huge difference in pro wrestling and they ended up becoming big stars. People are never going to give them their flowers until it's too late, when it's all said and done. I mean, there are certain people who get it, like you get it, and we know how good and how talented the Young Bucks are, but there are so many people that are just not going to give them those flowers until they're gone, and then they'll be the greatest thing ever.
We will see. WWE is also overseas this week, and Matt, we want to help people get in on the fun with Clash in Paris, the first ever Clash in Paris. MyBookie's got all the action there. John Cena versus Logan Paul. That's going down. That might just break the internet, man. Like that's two big time stars. You got
There you have it. Yeah. John Cena, Logan Paul, first time ever.
The viral megastar, the GOAT, going at it, and they're drawing serious action over at MyBookie. You got match winners, method of victory, surprise run-ins. Best believe if it can happen in the ring, well, then you can bet on it. And while the action's heating up in Paris, football season's right behind it, and it's prime time to cash in. If you're trying to bet all in one place, MyBookie's your headquarters. And if you're new to MyBookie, use code HARDY50, HARDY50, and any bet you choose, up to $500, is fully covered. Make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your Bet Back bonus token. Clash of Paris is going down. Football's on deck. It's a damn good time to be a bettor. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with our friends over at MyBookie. Anything you want to say about Clash of Paris and those French crowds going on over there?
I always love French crowds. Nice, which is one of my favorite places to wrestle over there. It was an outdoor arena, very old, had incredible architecture, and the people were just always just so enthusiastic, so passionate. Love being over there. And I see that a lot, man. We're pretty popular in France. Germany is where we're most popular. Hardys were most popular in Germany. That was a factoid that was given, back in WWE back in the day, especially from sales of merch and whatnot. But love being in France, man. Love the French folk.
Well, that's a little factoid you hit us with there. I think it's time to hit us with this week's Matt Fact. What you got?
Matt Fact. Matt will engulf Mofongo con pollo today.
Con pollo, not con brisket. Got it. There you go. So she's what? She's sending you away with a nice little preview of what's in store here.
There you have it. Yeah. It's Friday. While you're listening to this, I am on a plane. If you're listening at 6 a.m., I have just taken off from Buffalo, New York.
There you go.
And I am flying to Miami, I think. And then maybe I'll have a Cuban. It's kind of my thing. I'll go to Miami.
Say hey to Guga, man.
Yeah, maybe I'll say, what's up, Guga? I'll shout him out at least. And then once I get down to PR, I'm getting picked up. And first thing I'm going to do is go have some mofongo con pollo. Maybe I'll ask him. I'll say, you have any mofongo con carnitos or mofongo con brisket? I will look into it.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, you enjoy that. I'm jealous. I'm definitely jealous. Okay, let's talk about this whole culture of wrestling and the incident that happened. Everyone has had an opinion on it, and I know you've been itching to share yours. So for those who missed this, Stu Smith, independent wrestler associated with Rikishi's school. He's working a show with Raja Jackson, who is the son of Quinn Rampage Jackson, famous UFC fighter, prolific MMA fighter turned actor.
Yes.
They have a backstage incident where Smith and Raja aren't on the same page. Smith thinks that they're shooting like a segment, setting up an angle, and he throws a beer can at Raja, hits him in the head. There's a little bit of a scuffle, but everything's fine. It's cleared up. They dab up live on camera. They clear the air. Everything's supposed to be fine. Raja, who's live streaming, says Stu's going to get his comeback, like his comeuppance.
You're talking about where he's sitting front row now.
Yes. So, after an in-ring segment, Raja attacks Stu. For real, lays him out, knocks him cold in body slamming him to the mat, and then proceeds to just wallop him across the face more than 20 times. It is reported that Stu suffers tremendous bleeding, choking on his own blood, lost teeth, obviously severe concussion, and he's hospitalized. And it was a very dangerous situation. A lot of people have given their thoughts on how everything went down. I think it's a much bigger conversation to be had about the business, brother. And we're going to have that. But your initial reaction to seeing the incident?
My initial takes as I saw the different videos as they were being released and whatnot. So, do we know how long Syko Stu is? Just what I know him as now. Do we know how long he's been wrestling? How long he's been in the
I believe he started in 2009.
Okay. Still, the fact that he's been around 16 years ish or so, it's still, it was a poor move on his end when he walked up and he first interacted with Raja and did the thing, you know, you don't know who I am. And he took like the beer can and smashed it on his head. Just, it was a poor move. Just, we don't need things in wrestling like that right now. He was in the wrong in doing that. I mean, if anything else, just like, hey, how are you? Very nice to meet you. So we're doing something tonight, blah, 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 blah. Small talk, conversation, get to know each other. You know, and it almost felt like, you know, he was kind of pulling out the wrestling vet card. But I think the wrestling vet card is kind of dead and gone in this day. You know what I mean? I think you need to respect someone who is a vet, who has been around and kind of paved the way for others who might be in their same space. But you can't take liberties with anybody, especially someone that you don't know very well. With that said, when Raja was sitting front row and he was live streaming, like, nah, that pissed me off. I don't play that. How many subs to knock him out? How many subs to take him down or whatever it was? And he's going, oh, no, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to hurt him. And I know there was a guy that told him backstage, said, hey, man, you know the deal. Get your receipt. Get your receipt. Even like stirring it up, which is not doing anybody any favors. But when Raja was in there and took him down, it looks like when he slammed him, he like threw him down as almost like an Alabama slam would be from Bob Holly. And
it was a legitimate MMA takedown of him, yes.
Yeah, it was. But also, you know, the Alabama slam is where Bob Holly would grab you like this and throw you back. And, you know, it's brutal. It would always be hard. But like if your head hits the wrong way, it's very easy to get knocked out from that too. So he slung him down in an MMA takedown. He laid there as soon as he got onto it, as soon as he mounted him and started throwing punches. The Syko Stu guy, his hands were by his side. He never brought them in to cover up. So, I mean, he was unconscious almost immediately. And his hands are out here, and this guy is laying in like hard shots. And you know his dad, obviously a UFC fighter, MMA fighter. This guy, I'm sure he is trained in an MMA style, especially a regiment.
He's an MMA fighter.
Yeah. I mean, he's aware of all this. And he gets in there and he's laying these shots in. And it's not one or two where it's just like, oh, here's a receipt. I got you back. I mean, there was 20 shots. And I feel like if he hadn't been pulled off, he was so enraged He was it was so malicious that the intent was so powerful there. He would have kept punching him until he killed him. Is what it felt like. I mean, he was on another level. All he saw was red, and it's one of those things. Sure, was that a dickhead thing the guy did to you? But did it warrant that? No, absolutely not. I mean, that was major bodily harm. That's like on the verge of like permanently paralyzing or crippling or hurting or injuring or killing someone. And it was absolutely uncalled for.
And then on top of it, there's a fucking pinfall attempt after. And the match ends in a pin. Insanity. And then there's wrestlers cutting promos on it after. The LAPD gets called. They're investigating the matter. The school loses its WWID affiliation.
And this is Rikishi School, is that correct?
Yes. Okay. I have long talked about this. I've talked about this on the podcast before. How I feel like so many people who work in wrestling are in the bubble, right? The wrestling bubble is just so different than any other industry out there, where if something were to happen in another industry like this, zero tolerance, no one is sticking up for the aggressor. It's no question. There's no debate. But because this is pro wrestling and the culture that has permeated pro wrestling for so long, all of a sudden there has to be discourse and conversation and seeing both sides of this. Matt, I think this is fucking ridiculous that there's even an attempt to both sides this from anything. Like what you just said there about Stu, like, hey, man, don't be stupid. Don't do something like that. That's not both sidesing it. That's just saying, don't do that.
No, I mean, that's just me assessing the situation accurately.
Sure. It wasn't some egregious violation of mistrust or anything like that, too.
No, it wasn't. And also something we should add in there, if you're just listening to this, you haven't seen the situation. After that one incident happened, which I thought was a really dumb incident because of the veteran when he smashed the beer can in his hand, they actually made up and like shook hands and like you said, dabbed up and like they were cool and they were like on the same page. Okay, cool. I'm going in the ring and let's work together, brother. Let's do this angle. And like everybody acted as if they were on the same page, which made Raja's thing even worse.
Correct. And I want to talk about this here because I have a lot of thoughts about this from my lower level work at the Indies and what I've seen in recent years. And then I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I said, because I was talking about it with a lot of my Patreon subscribers on wrestlingaccordingtoalba.com. And it was really firing me up. And this is what I said. The Raja Jackson incident shines an ugly light on how many in the wrestling industry live in the bubble. It's pretty cut and dry. Jackson should be facing assault charges and the promotion should face liability. No brother, and protect the business or receipts. The fact that there was a pin finish as a guy was literally at risk of dying on the mat and that people were cutting promos about it is a horrendous reflection of the industry. And if you disagree with any of that, you're on the wrong side of history. It's an industry literally built on a lie. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. I always say that on this show. Sex pests get fifth chances. Performers take advantage of each other. Promoters take advantage of them. Incidents like this are totally preventable, but it's a bubble, and I'm not hopeful for change on that. I mean, am I being too strong there? I don't know. Like, you're the veteran here of 30 plus years. How do you feel about the culture of wrestling?
I mean, in 2025, I think the most important thing you have to realize is you have to look out for yourself. You have to protect yourself, which is very important. And a lot of that comes with building equity with the other talents you've worked with, you know, regardless of who it is or what they are. You know, would things have changed if Syko Stu didn't smash that can into his head right from the beginning? Maybe, you know, that shouldn't have happened, but in no way does that warrant what ultimately ended up happening. That should have never happened. If Raja had that kind of attitude and mentality where he wasn't there just to work and strictly work, then he should have never been brought to that gig. Whoever booked him, whoever set this whole angle or, ordeal up should not have done that. If this guy has that sort of anger issues. There still is a bit of a bubble in wrestling, but it has changed a lot. I mean, because I saw it in the 90s when there was a lot more of this mentality, when there was a lot of hazing, and a lot of it, I will say this too, there was a lot of it even in the 90s that we had to endure, that they would haze you and fuck with you a little bit, but a lot of it wasn't heinous. It wasn't malicious. A lot of times it was just to kind of see how you would react to it and if you belonged in that locker room, which I kind of got. I feel like there still needs to be a higher level of respect for the people that have paved the way for you, because, Jeff and I, we had the ultimate respect for those people that paved the way for us. And most people have that for us in this day and age. But, that sometimes that is something that lacks, occasionally from the newer guys that have just kind of waltzed in and been able to get in easier, because you can get into the wrestling business so much easier now than you could 30 years ago. The bubble has gotten more realistic, and I feel like wrestling has changed with society, but it is not perfect at all. There are still problems. There are still issues. There are still people that do things in pro wrestling that are real, and they are acting out on reality in what they're saying, but then they try and use the excuse that it is entertainment. And no, that's not really what I was saying. It was all a work, brother. It was all a work, brother. And that's kind of like that's where the problems lie in pro
Bingo.
wrestling, because there's that very strange blur of fact and fiction, and people use that to their advantage to try and get away and take liberties with it.
That's exactly it right there, because people can create these personas and these characters that are whatever they want them to be, and that is their excuse to utilize them to their advantages. And we saw it a lot during the speaking out stuff from 2020, where a lot of wrestlers who are no longer in the industry ended up losing their positions because of how they leveraged those instances. Joey Ryan is one that comes to mind immediately. And they paid for that in ramifications. But there's still this massive bubble that exists where so many times people get fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances for doing really bad things that not only affect themselves, but also affect other people.
Do you have anyone just off the top of your head, John? Sorry, just curious, that has those multiple chances?
I mean, if you want me to throw names, I'll throw names here.
I mean, because you were saying 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. I mean, just in one case right here, someone like Alberto Del Rio, who, aside from the political nature of it, of his WWE runs and stuff like that, I mean, this is a man who's been accused of some pretty bad things that have gone through the legal system. And we've heard some horrible stories. And I want to make clear that this is all alleged. We're not their witnesses to this, but you hear stories that come out. And as a result, they still find themselves getting chances. And like, he's someone that now there's conversations about how people are trying to advocate for him to be brought back to WWE. And like, again, people are entitled to do what they want to do. And this is not me saying, oh, Alberto Del Rio should not get another chance. It's just, we hear so many incidents and yet they keep getting chances, right?
Okay.
I mean, your peers, like, there's people who would make the argument, Matt, against someone like Jeff having so many chances. Now,
Sure.
Jeff's actions did not harm anybody else. They were all self-inflicted, but there are people who would argue that. And that's reflective of a culture. We are coming up on the fall season, and that means colder weather, harsher elements, mud. And when you're on the Hardy compound, there is plenty of work to be done, whether you are Senior Benjamin or you are Matt Hardy himself. And when you're out there working, you want to be comfortable, right? Well, choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last, and if they lasted, well, then they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS, so they built tough boots that feel great from day one. No break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Founder Eric Gerard grew up blue-collar and started Brunt Workwear after his friends in the trades kept telling him that the big brands had stopped listening and they hadn't changed in 100 years. They'd sold out to become fashion brands, so his buddies encouraged him to start a new brand built for them. And that's why all Brunt products are named after the guys he grew up with, real hard-working tradesmen. There's no doubt that these are the most comfortable work boots that I've ever worn. And with Matt Hardy being in the trenches in the Hardy compound and the forest, I can confidently say they are his as well. They feel comfortable right out of the box. No long, painful break-in period like all those other brands, but they're not just comfortable, they're built to actually perform. Whether you need waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull-on, or lace-up, well, they've got options that can handle whatever job site you're walking onto. And Brunt stands behind whatever they make. So you can wear them to work, and if they're not right for you, you send them back. I don't know any brand doing that, especially a work boot company. And any other workwear they're offering, the guarantee remains the same. That's a company that believes in their product. So right now, for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use code HARDY at checkout, HARDY. Just head to bruntworkwear.com. Use code HARDY, and you are good to go. See, Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better, boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. And for a limited time, as mentioned, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt. So use that code HARDY, bruntworkwear.com, and do them a favor and do us a favor. Tell them the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy sent you.
No doubt. Once again, one thing I do think it's very weird, and there's really no black and white in all this. I mean, because there are some things that people do that are just awful and terrible, and like they're a menace to society. And I feel like there are, and they don't deserve another opportunity. But I feel like there are some times when people do things that are wrong or incorrect, and they actually legitimately try and change themselves, and they try and course correct and
Sure.
do better and make their wrongs right and whatnot. And sometimes people just also won't let it go. It just is what it is. It's real weird. I think in society we have to still live in a society where people are given another chance, a second chance, maybe even a third chance, if they are legitimately trying to change or they're legitimately trying to be better, So I know like cancel culture is something that people talk about all the time, cancel culture, whatever, but there's some people that, when they're bad and they continue to be bad over and over again, sometimes they end up being a lost cause. And, I get that, and it makes sense. And, I guess more or less it legitimately depends on if someone is trying to genuinely better themselves, if someone is genuinely trying to change and make amendments for what they've done wrong in the past.
This culture thing goes beyond just like individual behavior like that too. It's also the greater notion of like, you got to get to the finish line for the show, man. Like there's no reason that there should have been a pin after that. There's no reason that people should be cutting promos on that. Like, think about real life ramifications. Matt, I fully believe that if the Owen Hart situation happened today, there would be a huge contingency of people who would say the show needs to keep going on. You got to keep people happy.
Sure.
I'm fully confident in that.
No, you're not wrong.
And so, do you understand what I'm saying? Like that element?
Yeah, no, you're right. And John, I will say I agree with you. There did not need to be a pinfall after this. Like after things turned real and they turned violent, and there was this vicious assault, that needed to be the end. It ends right there. You know what I mean? Like you don't cross into reality and then step back out into a worked world of entertainment.
Exactly. So why are people like that?
Once again, it's just probably it is
I want to make clear.
probably
And I'm going to let you finish your thought. I want to make clear. I think this happens much more at like the independent level because there's not as much
100%.
there's not as much filtration with that, if it makes sense.
Sure.
And you get a lot of the local legends who build their own lore up and they can get away with whatever they want to as a result of that.
Sure.
I mean, you've seen that firsthand.
It was more or less. I think it more or less happens because of force of habit. Because just for the longest time, they've always said, "Well, the show must go on. We got to finish the match, brother. We just got to get through it. We got to finish the match." I mean, even looking back, and I've said this. I've said this a couple times. Even whenever I had my thing with Sammy, whenever I had the spear and I was knocked unconscious, that match should have ended there. We could have just changed.
Yeah.
The stipulation could have been fixed or corrected, whatever else. And everybody, and once again, I'll even defend Tony Khan on this. I think he was just caught in a scenario he'd never been in before. He wasn't sure what to do, and he was just trying to make the most of it, trying to make the best of it. And things kept going on. But I think it was a great learning lesson for AEW in that instant. But I think on the independents and things like this incident where this happened, it's almost like force of nature. Just people, it is just what they do. The wrestling match finishes, it concludes. You go through and you get the finish in, brother. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the mentality.
It's just so passe. Like, understand this is reality. This is realism. And the whole idea of protecting the business. You know how you protect the business? You make sure that things like this can't happen. You make sure that dangerous people aren't around. That's how you protect the business.
Dude, I agree. And I no one is a bigger advocate for that more than me. And I know if a lot of people in here don't know me from, Adam's house cat, whatever, but like you've been around some and you've seen people I've talked to, you've seen how I interact with people. Even like last week when we had Ken on and we interviewed Ken said like, Matt was so nice to me. I was there. It was like so accommodating to other people who are extras, like friendly. Are you guys cool? You need anything? Can I help? Whatever. Like, I mean, that's how I've been, forever. Jeff is an enigma, but Jeff is like that too. He gives a shit about people, right? And he wants people to be good. He wants people to be okay. And that's the best kind of mentality you can have in this business. And the most important thing is protecting the business and not letting people that are loose cannons or people that are going to go into business for themselves or people that are going to take liberties with people. Those are the people you have to protect yourself and your friends from in this industry. And that's what's so important. And the best thing that you can be in this business is someone who is there for the greater good, someone who wants to see everyone succeed and thrive, and someone who wants to see everyone healthy and happy.
And ultimately, you're putting on a show together. You're a bunch of actors putting on a play. That's what pro wrestling is in a very different form, needless to say. But you don't.
I mean, we're live action stuntmen who are risking our bodies out there with what we do every single week. But at the end of the day, we have a goal. We're trying to go in a certain direction. We're trying to tell a story in a match, and we're probably trying to tell a big, stronger overcasting story about the direction our character is going in. And that is what we're doing, week in and week out. There's nothing like it. It's the most unique. It's the most cool thing in the world, in my opinion. But also too, it is just so different. And there are so many small crevices that people can slip between the cracks and try and get their shit in,
And I understand that you felt that a lot of the stuff that happened in the 90s wasn't necessarily malicious, but I think there's a lot of people who would argue that there is definitely malicious intent behind
I have seen some terrible malicious stuff.
What's the worst thing you've seen? You don't got to attach a name to it, but what's one of the worst things you've seen from someone?
One of the worst things I've seen?
Yeah, in terms of like hazing or culture or anything like that. You don't have to attach a name.
I have seen someone threaten to be sexually assaulted in a joking way, but it went much further and it felt much more real than possible. That's probably the worst thing I'd ever seen. And it was done as a show to try and humble this person. What I was going to say, for instance, John, when I said something that I thought was not malicious, But I get why they did it, just to see how we react. And I've told this story before. When we were going to San Antonio, it was like our first month on house shows, right? We're doing 10 days on, 4 days off. So we're like in our first month, and it's the first day we're going out. We're doing a house show the first day, and we have a flight. Our connection flight was canceled. We're gonna have to catch the next flight. And Jeff and I, we're the first match. We're wrestling against Too Cool, which was too much at the time, I think. Scotty Too Hottie, Brian Christopher. And we're coming in. We knew the match. We'd worked these guys several times. We knew what we were gonna do. We show up at the building. The show starts at 7:30. We get there about 7:10, 7:15, and they're like saying, "Oh, well, here comes the Hardys. Look, they're big main event stars now. They just show up whenever," with JBL doing that. And then JBL and the crew of vets that were there that would kind of haze or test the younger guys. "Oh, you guys need to get ready. Okay, here's your room." And they push us into the Undertaker's locker room where he's in there naked. It's very awkward for us. Jeff and I said, "Oh my God, we're going to change real quick and we're going to go to the ring and do our match. We'll be okay though. We're sorry we're late, but our flight was canceled." The agent, who was Jack Lanza, the agent for the show, he knew all about it, and we were in the clear. So we do that. We change, we go to the ring, we come back out, and then we go back to get our gear, and it's gone. And I know you've heard this story, John. Our gear's gone, and we just go, "Excuse me, anyone, do you guys happen to know where our gear is?" Because, we had got dressed real quick. We sprinted to the ring. We did our match, and, we're done, and we wanted to just get showered and get dressed again. And they said, "Well, if you'd got here on time and you didn't act like you were a damn main eventer, you probably would have had the boys there to watch your gear. So no one took it." And then we just searched around the building for an hour and a half. And then eventually Road Dogg smartened us up and told us where it was. And our bags had been zipped up, and that they put it out back, out by the trash. They didn't throw it away, but they put it out in a dumpster, and it was zipped up. And one night we went, we got it out, we did the thing. And the whole point of doing that was they just wanted to see, like, are we going to get mad? Like, man, fuck you guys. Fuck that. Now, we were chill. We understood like what they were doing. It was a test to see, like, how do we blend into this environment, like under this pressure,
But
under this situation.
I and others would also argue that there is malicious intent behind that. And yeah, were they testing you? Sure. Putting your bags in a dumpster where that dumpster could have easily been collected while you're out there, and all of a sudden all your shit's gone for good. That kind of reads as malicious intent. And I know when you're in it, you might not necessarily feel that way. And I understand the moral that you're trying to underline here. And I get that. And I don't think it's something that John would necessarily do today. But I think there's a lot of people who would argue a lot of that is malicious intent. And the wrestling court stories, while they're funny and largely in good intent, they were definitely done to unnerve people and make them feel stressed, make them feel worried. And in my opinion, that is malicious intent. If you're trying to put stress onto someone else, that's not necessarily just like ribbing them and joking with them. Like Owen Hart putting pigs in Vince McMahon's office is a non-malintent rib, right? That's just screwing with someone. But when you're deliberately trying to stress someone out and hurt their feelings, even if you know that it's a ha, we can laugh at this later, I wouldn't say it's without malicious intent. Just my take on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in those things, I saw stuff that was done with malice, no doubt. But I feel like those don't. I mean, those guys, they probably had it worse than that, even coming up, and it was weird.
Sure,
but
that's exactly it right there. You just
it was fucked up. But that's how
bad
the system
doesn't
was.
give the excuse to do it again.
And that's how the system was until it changed. And like my generation, our generation, are the generation that has finally changed it.
Sure, but then also, and look, I love Taker, but like he has that famous comment that people always fall back on, where he's like, there's too many video games in the locker room now. We used to have guns and cards and all that stuff instead. That doesn't read super great in 2025.
Yeah, but I mean, once again, too, that's just, it's also, I mean, you look at the way society's changed. You look at the way humanity has changed since then. So much stuff has changed. And as crazy as it sounds, like I can even tell in the last few conversations I've had with Mark, with Undertaker. You know, like he has changed his whole mentality as well too.
Yeah. How so? Like just being around the performance center, you think changed his perspective?
I mean, I think society. I mean, society's changed, and I think society is a reflection. It reflects on pro wrestling to a degree, but pro wrestling still has that wiggle room where you know it's somewhat real and it's somewhat entertainment, and some people can sneak in between that and try and take liberties
Because
with people.
saying, "Oh, well, you know, like the whole guns and cards thing, that's just reflective of what we grew up on." That's part of the culture problem, excusing that. Because then you're not instituting the new culture that's healthier. That's part of the but I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying that conversation being like, "Well, that's just how it was." The reason things permeate and continue is because we throw up our arms and say, "Well, that's just how it was." When if you're trying to actually institute new culture in healthier places, then you don't throw up excuses for that.
I also think too, I mean, we've just changed so much. I mean,
Yeah, we have.
before the internet, I mean, like, you know, if you go back 30 years ago or say 40 years ago now, you know, just like it was just such a different time, such a different way. It just makes me wonder, are there going to be people that even would look back at some of the conversations that people in pro wrestling or people or you, John, you know, that you have in 40 years, they're going to say, well, I don't know. That's probably the problem with the culture then, you know, just because times change, you
No,
know,
sure, and it's okay to acknowledge it. I think it's fair,
right.
but it's also when you acknowledge it, you have to recognize why it's not. Why, pardon me, why it's not necessarily a good thing. Like we have all said things when we were younger that age terribly today.
Sure.
But we acknowledge that while it was a sign of the times, it was fucked up. We shouldn't have said those things. And we're not going to say those things going forward. So I guess my question before we wrap to you is why are so many of your peers, in regards to this Roger Jackson incident, why are so many of your peers doing backflips to try to work around words with this when I think you and I both agree this is a pretty cut and dry issue?
How many is so many?
Well, there's enough. There's more than one, which is more
Ghost?
than enough.
Ghost?
Yeah, I've seen some bad takes about this across the internet, aside from just the major ones.
I mean, in in my opinion, and whatever, it's my opinion. Doesn't make a fuck to anyone really in the big scheme of things because it's just you know we're all out our opinion. I mean, it's inexcusable when you know, regardless if someone has wronged you, if they did something to you that pissed you off or it embarrassed you, whatever. If you try and take liberties with someone and it's something that could cost them their health and their livelihood and the remainder of their life, it's unacceptable. It's inexcusable. And that's when you see him mount this Syko Stu and start punching and just raining down these blows. I mean, 20 plus before he's pulled off, you know, and he wouldn't have stopped because he was seeing red. That's all he was seeing. He was just seeing red and going nuts. And that there is never reasoning for that, you know, and unless it's like self-defense, unless someone's trying to kill you and you're in a fight for your life. You know, this guy made a dumb move. He smashed a beer can on his head, tried to play the vet card and maybe embarrassed him. But to come out and possibly put this guy's life in jeopardy is inexcusable.
There you go. It's as simple as that. That's how I see it. Anything else you want to add on this?
No, it's just it's crazy how this story blew up and became such a talking point, and how there were debates about it where it wasn't. It's really, to me, it's strange that people didn't just see this one way. You know, I think there's a lot of nuance to everything that happened, right? There's a lot of interesting turns that happen. You know, you have the turn where this guy meets Syko Stu and He does this thing, oh, you don't know who I am, smash, and pisses him off. And then you have where they sit down and they talk. It's like, okay, well, we're cool, blah, 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 cool. See you out there, brother, you know, and they're going to do the business. And then he's out there streaming, just like, I'm going to fuck this guy up. When I get on, I'm going to knock his ass out. I'm going to fuck him up, man. I don't play that. And it's just like, bro, like, I mean, just saying all that live on stream is a nightmare for you, you know, from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, you think?
And then to go in there and do what he did, you know, and this is a guy who is trained in MMA, obviously, very dangerous guy. You know, he knows what the fuck he's doing.
And if you're going to use people from the outside, they have to understand what they're stepping foot into.
Of course. And they have to understand what they're stepping foot into. And they also have to, like, to a degree, know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, look at the thing with Travis when Travis Scott hurt Cody.
Yeah.
I mean, Cody is the guy at WWE. You can't have that guy hurt. You know,
what if he put him out for months?
Yeah. I mean, when you have someone come in and do some sort of spot like that, he has to know what he's doing. And same thing goes with this. Even if you know, obviously scale it back to the smallest degree, it's an indie show, but you know, if you're having this guy come in, he has to know what he's doing. He has to have self-control. He has to be in control of what he's doing out there.
Certainly so. Let's hope there's some changes. Like I said, I'm not hopeful for it, but we'll see. We will see. Good conversation, Matt. And I want to remind you guys, if you want to get in front of this good conversation, advertisewithhardy.com is how you do that. Promote your business to the extreme. Get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. That's advertisewithhardy.com. You got a busy weekend ahead. I'm excited. Next week, we are doing Ask Matt Hardy Anything. We're going to answer your questions. We got a bunch of great ones. We always love doing the Ask Matt. I'll be in Dublin next week, so we're going to get ahead of things, and it's going to be a fun time all around. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Die!
We're talking about how to save money with SaveWithConrad.com. All right, folks, take a look at this chart right here. What we're seeing is that the percentage of disposable income that's really just going for debt service here in America is like 11.28%. It's been climbing ever since the pandemic. And what that means is folks are spending a lot of the money they earn today to pay for bills they ran up way back when. Is that you? Are you carrying credit card balances right now? Well, I want to encourage you, stop taking out new debt at really crazy high interest rates. And instead, let's start using some of that equity in your house. Someone who did exactly that was my man, Justin. He's an auto sales manager there in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was looking to do a little home remodeling, and he kind of liked the idea of getting rid of some debt. Well, check out these before and after photos. Justin actually used the equity in his house to turn his home into his dream home. Yeah, and on top of that, we paid off all of his debt, and he even got to skip 2 house payments. Like right now, if you haven't already, you don't have to make your July or your August payment. You're done until September 1st. And come September 1st, you could be saving a boatload of cash. Just ask Justin. He upgraded his house. He got rid of his credit card debt, and he's going to save $1,000 a month. How do you make your house nicer and get rid of your credit card debt and save money? It's easy. You go to SaveWithConrad.com. You let my team run the numbers for you for free, just like we did for Justin. By the way, there's no cost, there's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. So what are you waiting for? It costs nothing to look. And by the way, if you've been looking to see what rates are doing, let me put your peace of mind in play here. We've got a year 3 guarantee here at SaveWithConrad.com. All the experts seem to agree that interest rates are going to improve over the next few years. Well, I don't want you to miss out on that. So here's an opportunity for you to go ahead and start saving as much money as possible right now but not waste money later. When interest rates improve, we'll throw you another refi without charging you a whole new set of lender fees. So you're going to save on closing costs later, but you'll start saving money today at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. And again, you don't need perfect credit. So even if you've had some troubles in the past, you need a plan. We want to be your mortgage advisor for life. Give me a shout at savewithconrad.com.